The barbell upright row is the least effective exercise in your shoulder routine, and it's an exercise that you really just should skip. Yes, you think you're doing it because you're hitting the lateral head of your shoulder, because you're hitting your rear delt, and those are good things, but you're also causing yourself a lot of pain and setting yourself up for injury. So skip the barbell upright row. We're gonna show you why now.
The first reason you should skip out on the upright row, especially with a barbell, is fixed hand position. When it comes to your upper body, limb by limb, if you put yourself into a fixed spot, you can't dial into the individuality from side to side. You may be right-handed or left-handed, meaning you may have different mobility from side to side or different abilities from side to side. And because of that, when you put yourself into a fixed position, you can cause a lot of damage on one side versus the other that may not have the same strengths or same capabilities that you would have within the individual side-by-side perspective.
Exactly, and you're being so restrictive with that barbell when you talk about fixed hand position and trying to move your arms through space. There's just so much twisting and unfriendliness for your wrist, so it's not worth going through all that fixed hand position issues. On top of that, because of the restriction of the bar and because of the restriction of the path we're trying to move in, we're inviting a lot of internal rotation into the shoulder with a whole ton of load. And when you're in any internal rotation position, once we shift down into this position, we're putting a lot of stress on that shoulder capsule and we're inviting injury and pain. Any exercise that's causing pain, you've got to find another alternative for it.
Yeah, especially when you start to see yourself going to that internal rotation portion, you start to see the shoulder blades roll up and forward, and that's a key indicator that you're not in the safest range of motion, specifically with the shoulder, which ends up bringing us to the third point, which is you're not working through the planes of motion that you think you're working through. Specifically with shoulder work, you want to make sure that you're tapping into scapulohumeral rhythm, which means that your arm needs to move in the same rhythm as your shoulder blade. When you have fixed hand position, you actually mitigate the ability for your shoulder blade to work with your arm, which is creating a chaotic environment, specifically with the shoulder, an area that does not thrive because it's very vulnerable by nature. So once you put yourself in this internally rotated, upward pulling pattern, you're actually doing a lot of damage to the shoulder that shouldn't be done.
The fact that you have to twist yourself into that position and it's not natural, it's not worth working from that position under load, so it's better off to just skip it. And our final reason is when you look at how you do a lateral raise, a lot of people are doing their upright row in part because they think they're hitting the outer head of their delt. But when you want to do a proper lateral raise, you want to lift in something called the scapular plane, slightly in front of your body. That's going to be a nice safe position for the shoulder. That upright row is not letting you naturally or easily find that position. You have to fight the bar the entire time. So get away from the upright row, and we're going to show you a couple alternatives. So the first fix for the barbell upright row and your first alternative, let's keep doing the motion because the exercise itself hits a lot of good notes. We wind up driving up and we get a little bit of row action going back. That's not bad, but let's change the tool. We're gonna go to the dumbbell upright row. And the great thing with the dumbbell upright row is we've freed our wrists to move naturally and we get to really emphasize driving up and also getting that good mid-back squeeze. So I really like the dumbbell upright row.
Yeah, the dumbbell upright row is great because you're able to individualize from side by side, which also brings us to the second thing we would be able to replace it with, which is the incline chest supported row. We've taken now that upright row with individual side by side, and we've leaned you forward just a little bit. So now you're tapping into some more of those back muscles, but you're still hitting the upper traps and the portions of your shoulder that you actually want to bring out when you're doing upright rows, which makes it a perfect match.
Exactly. I think the great thing about any sort of incline row variation is we're getting to drive our shoulder behind our torso, and that's actually catching a whole ton of rear delt. We get to load the exercise a lot more aggressively though because we're incorporating those mid-back muscles, so you get a lot more bang for your buck out of that than you would for the upright row. And for the people who are targeting larger shoulders, you actually are better off just doing a classic dumbbell rear delt fly. You're gonna catch a lot of rear delt in that, which is one of the things we're trying to do on the upright row anyway. And the isolation of the rear delt, you're gonna have to work with the lighter weight, but there's a lot of benefit to that too, right?
Yeah, especially when you're doing rear delt flies. A lot of people think you have to hit the medial or lateral portion of that deltoid to make it cap off. And what happens is when you work the rear delt, it actually pushes most of that muscle forward to make it a more centralized, three-dimensional boulder on the outside. And when you're also tapping these things in, we're talking about the rhythm that we were discussing before. We're putting in a much safer pattern, and you can work with higher rep ranges to really fatigue out that shoulder. That's gonna apply to a lot of other things outside of just muscular development.
So get away from the barbell upright row and hit our 3 options. Your shoulders will feel much better for it, they will look much better, and they will be pain-free.